So, did you open up a serialized card in the Brothers' War and not sure exactly what that means? Let's take a look into their price point currently and give you some idea of how the market is going to be taking these cards in the future. Welcome on in Dragonfolk. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I know I am. My name is Ashen Wings, and I'm here to teach you all about serialized cards. Now, the Brothers' War in Magic the Gathering is the very first set to actually contain serialized cards within said set. The only time we've seen them previously is in the Secret Layers, where there was a card that is 1 out of 100, right? So you could get only 100 copies of this card. It was a card that was printed backwards, essentially. And this is kind of how these are run. Serialized cards are collector's items, first and foremost. While you can use them in play, I highly suggest that you do not do that. And that is only because cards like these are going to be worth something. Now, the serialized cards in the Brothers' War can only be found in collector packs, so don't think you can open up a draft or a set pack in order to try and get one. But I do see a lot of confusion when it comes to these packs. There are quite a lot of people who are genuinely curious on whether or not these are worth anything. You know, they see a small little number stamped on there and they go, well, what is this, right? What is this all about? So let's take a small look into serialized cards and what they mean. So you will see that on your serialized card for the Brothers' War, that you will have whatever number out of 500. That means that there are only 500 of that card printed in that way with the stamp on it available ever. And that is, as I've said with our previous video on the topic, a collector's wet dream. And the reason for that being is because, of course, with only 500 of a certain card being printed in any certain way, it holds a bunch of exclusivity. And some collectors out there really, really desire that. Now, 500 copies of a card seems like nothing at all. But 500 is definitely more than the very first serialized card in Magic's history being out of 100. So, with the additional 400 cards for these retro artifacts, essentially, there are quite a few out there. It does lead a lot of people to believe that the amount of collector boxes that were printed is significantly higher, and this will cause a big issue with the sealed product over time, but it also might not be an issue with the sealed product. Because when you look at it this way, the odds of all 500 of a card being pulled are very low. And that's because you'd pretty much have to open every single product until the entirety of them have been completed, right? Let's say you're looking at Mox Amber. I think that within our lifetime of people opening boxes, and especially right now with a lot of people not wanting to purchase boxes, right? Not having the funds to purchase an entire box or even to purchase just a pack here and there, I have a feeling that we're not going to be seeing the entirety of the stock of the Brothers' War collector packs. Because of that, we will, of course, never see full completed sets of cards, or at least the odds are very, very low. So for instance, that Mox Amber, the odds of all 500 of them being out there in the wild, owned by people, is going to be very, very low. But of course, the second it happens and you're able to collect them all like all the pieces of Exodia, that will be a fantastic collection. Probably one of the best collections that a Magic the Gathering fan could ever own. But the odds of that happening are very low, unless, of course, everybody decides to open a bunch of boxes. Now, my issue with everything here is that, of course, we won't see everything. But the prices are still very much so relevant. And there are 4 numbers out of 500 that I imagine are going to be the most sought after in the entirety of the collection. And that would be the number 1, the number 69, the number 420, and the number 500. And the only reason for that is because you have the very first one, the very last one, and 2 very meme-esque numbers, right? 69 obviously being a very nice number, if you catch the drift. And 420, everybody knows the devil's lettuce. We're all aware, 420 praise it. So that is the reason why those are probably going to be fetching a higher price. But as far as just a regular card, the issue that we're going to see is that there are people who are going to want to price them whatever price they can, right? This is the first time that we've seen serialized cards to this extent in Magic the Gathering, so nobody knows what they should be going for. People just choose a number and throw it out there. And eventually, over due time, the market will decide what these are supposed to be worth individually. But, of course, again, certain numbers will fetch a higher price. I'm sure if this went all the way to 1,000 copies, you'd see numbers like 666 and 999. Even 333 in this out of 500 might get a pretty solid amount. Any of the repeating numbers, 111, 222, those are probably more great numbers to look out for. But now we come to the issue of how do we find out what number we're buying? If you go into TCGPlayer and you look at a card and you go, oh, well, you know what? I want to purchase number 69. You'd have to find somebody who specifically has number 69. And that's a very, very hard thing to do unless you are part of a wider community of Magic the Gathering players that you can eventually find the number 69 card. So, with that being said, your odds are very low for collecting the one that you want. But collecting one at all is still very good. Because if you're opening these packs and you open up a serialized card, well, let me tell you, you're looking at a pretty good paycheck right there. So if we take a look at TCGPlayer, you will see that there are roughly no prices for the market price of a lot of these retro artifacts. And it's because it's hard to pull them. It's less than 1% to pull in any of the collector packs. So it is going to be difficult for these to be pulled. But more importantly, you are seeing that these cards, no matter what the rarity, are going for anywhere from $300 and up. Which means that if you pull any of these, you are practically guaranteed to make your money back. Now, don't listen to those words too well, right? Make your money back. Because the purpose of opening boxes is not to make your money back. It's to have fun and collect cards that you may need for your game. And these chase cards are just a small little bonus that you get if you happen to pull them. Now, of course, at the lowest rarity, looking at about $300 a card right now, there are also cards that are going for $1,000. These are cards like Ramos Dragon Engine, going for about $1,000 right now on the open market, and that's because it's a mythic, it's a good card used in many decks, and it is, again, right, a hard-to-pull card. Currently, the lowest priced seller is selling it at $1,000. The next one is selling it at $1,500. And the third seller is selling it for $71,000. This is a wild west of the market here. It's brand new to Magic. Nobody is really aware of the concept of a serialized card. And because of that, we're essentially making moves as we see them. So if you happen to pull a serialized card and you go, wow, I wonder what this is worth, you can certainly find something like that online through TCGPlayer, through eBay, and you could, at minimum, sell it for $300. Now, the reason they're only going to be going for so much now is because there's not a lot of them on the market. If there happen to be, let's say 300 Mishra's Baubles that end up popping up on the market. 300 serialized Mishra's Baubles that nobody seems to be picking up. The odds of those dropping lower are probably pretty good. But these are true collector's items, and I believe a lot of people are going to pick them up the second they pop up, as long as they're for reasonable prices. So overall, it's expensive. If you find anything that's like a serialized card, I highly suggest that if you, I don't know, if you have something you need to pay for, or maybe that card will pay for better cards in your deck, like maybe a dual land, I'm talking like a real dual land, you can go ahead and sell that card for a dual land, right? If collecting's not your thing and playing is more your thing and you want to get something that's like a dual land, you at least know that you can trade off this serialized card for something that is going to always contain a pretty high value. But if you're a collector and you're wondering how long it's going to take for this to appreciate, well, I wouldn't be able to tell you. And frankly, I don't think anybody in the Magic the Gathering community would be able to tell you. But of course, this is where the experiments come in. If you're the proud owner of a serialized card and you think that it might be able to go for more down the line, well, just think about the environment that we're in right now. All right. I just want you to think about that. The environment that we're in right now, nobody wants to buy Magic the Gathering product. At least not many people who are price sensitive want to buy the Magic the Gathering product. Second off, there's all this other product that's going to come out. And normally, when product is released and new product is introduced and so on and so forth, the older product tends to get forgotten about for a little while. And when the Brothers War goes out of print, I'm certain that they're not going to be, fire selling off any of these collector booster boxes from Amazon or whatever they might be. So they're going to stuff all those in a warehouse somewhere. And that means that whatever serialized cards are out there are all either located in sealed boxes that players may have kept or collectors may have kept, or they're in the collection of a collector already. So you see, it is very difficult to tell because you're never going to get the full set. You're never going to get all 500 of a card. And even if you did, then you'd have to hunt down everybody who has one. But with this being day one of serialized cards in Magic the Gathering, I imagine they're going to go up quite a bit. That's my personal opinion. I think you are going to see serialized cards go up in value over time, especially as the sales of the Brothers War continue to dwindle. When the sales of the Brothers War continue to go down, unless, of course, Wizards of the Coast does a flash sale on the product because they've got like a solid year and a half now at this point to pump out this product as much as they possibly can. But if they don't end up getting all the boxes sold or whatever, and, they're not able to allocate it all, you're going to see these go up in price a lot because now there will be less. Because theoretically, at that point, you have the 1 out of 500 number, right? If only 20 of them ever hit the open market and the rest stay sealed in their boxes, I mean, now you're looking at practically a 1 in 20. And the only way that you're ever going to get those re-entered into the market is if they decide to sell off a bunch of those Brothers War collector boxes or crack them open and send the serialized cards to an auction place or something. I don't know how they'd actually do that. But these are all factors in whether or not those cards are going to actually be worth it, is how many of them are actually pulled. And while I've seen a lot of people pulling them through Facebook pages and other YouTube channels, I definitely don't think it's enough at the rate that we think it is. It's always different cards. It's always a number that isn't, any of the 4 that I had talked about previously. So I do really think that there is going to be less than 500 ever in the market. And because of that, we now have to bring down the number of how many cards are serialized, right? So you're looking at maybe 1 out of 100, if not maybe 1 out of 50, because right now nobody wants to buy this product. Nobody wants to buy anything because we're all mad at Wizards over the same thing. And again, that's fine. If you don't want to buy product, don't buy product. That's the best way for you to stick it to Wizards if you do not like the direction in which the company is going, is to just not buy the product. Because if serialized cards exist now, they'll exist later. So you always have another opportunity down the road. But for right now, a lot of people are on strike from Wizards. A lot of people are very angry and upset. And for those of you who are holding on to the serialized cards, continue to hold on to them. If you need that money right now for something else, or you'd rather own something else other than a serialized card, you can go ahead and sell it, or trade it to your friends, or trade it to an LGS for something of value worth to you. But I would not go anywhere under $300. So if we're putting our baseline at $300 for a serialized card, then that's where we should be at. But of course, if it is a more well-known card like Mox Amber or Ramos or I don't know, some other crazy mythic that exists out there, those may go for a little bit more. But that's my take on the Retro Artifacts serialized cards. We're obviously going to be keeping an eye on them as the time goes on. I hope to do a 30-day analysis from now. I guess that's almost near Christmas. So hopefully we'll take a look at the market then. We'll probably be dealing with a bunch of Jumpstart 2022 stuff at that point, but this is a way for us to kind of look into things. Take it a month at a time, right? Check the market 30 days from now, see what it's at. Check the market 60 days from now, see where it's at. And we'll kind of be able to utilize that data to better our own understanding of how these serialized cards are going to affect the Magic the Gathering market, as opposed to how they would affect something like the sports card market, right? Because sports cards have had serialized cards forever. And now a trading card game that's meant to be played has serialized cards. So we'll see what that means for the future. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about all the serialized cards. Let me know if you've pulled any. I'd love to see any of those on camera. I mean, my gosh, they've got to be super awesome. So if you have that opportunity to have one, let me know in the comments down below. Also, make sure to get it graded if you could, because grading it is also probably a pretty solid bet. No matter what the corners are, get it graded, because that's going to at least 2x your money probably. If I recall, it's probably going to do pretty well for you. But while you're down there leaving that comment, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. You can also check our description for a Patreon link if you're looking to support the channel in a more monetary sense, but it is not necessary. And as always, thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon. Nerd out.